So you may have heard Yngwie say something like this.
It's not sweep picking, folks.
Okay, explain that when you say it's not sweep picking.
It's alternate, down, 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 up, down. It's depending, because it's not like this.
Well, today I'm going to debunk all of the myths and the theories if he does or actually does not sweep pick anything. Well, I have news for you. Yngwie sweep picks in probably 99.9% of all of his music that he's ever put out. And today I'm going to show you exactly the kinds of sweeping that he does and how it's actually incredibly unique the way that he sweep picks and vastly different than a lot of other guitar players that use sweep picking in their music. Now, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you know that Yngwie Malmsteen is by far the most influential guitar player on my own playing. I've basically developed my playing style after his and do a lot of the same things that he does in his playing to achieve similar ideas and phrases. Yngwie, in my opinion, has mapped out the guitar in such a way that is so unique but also very intuitive. I do feel like he's kind of unlocked the fretboard in a way that many other players before him were not able to do so, and I think he really carved the pathway for all of the players after him, even including myself, to really have a deeper understanding of how to lay out phrases on the fretboard, especially what we're going to talk about today with the sweep picking thing. I also recognize that in the late 70s and early 1980s, a lot of the terminology that we're talking about in this video were not around yet. People did not, call things sweep picking. The word alternate picking was not around. The word economy picking wasn't around, at least to my knowledge. And, I think a lot of the people were just experimenting with techniques and didn't really have names for them yet. It was just kind of something that they did. If you hear Michelangelo talk about the early kind of iterations of sweep picking, he called it raking, which was kind of more of a, arpeggio that was legato sounding, like almost more like a chord being played slowly versus actual individual notes in an arpeggiated form. So it's kind of interesting how far we've come on the electric guitar with it being a relatively new instrument in the grand scheme of things, and all the terminology that we are still kind of figuring out even now, but also have already come up with to this day. So sweep picking tends to be controversial when talking about Yngwie, and I know there's a lot of other guitar players of the time as well that kind of resent the term sweep picking and also claim they don't use it. Marty Friedman also being one of those players that constantly says in interviews he hates sweep picking, he doesn't do sweep picking, but the fact of the matter is that he totally does do it, and if you've ever played any of his solos, you will immediately recognize that you have to use sweep picking to play through them. So I find it a little bit funny in a way, but it kind of makes sense, just as the times have gone on, we've come up with these terms. So today I'm going to walk you through how Yngwie plays his sweeps and the three different kind of main sweeping patterns that he uses that are very valuable to know if you yourself are attempting to play not only his music, but also just incorporating it into your own playing. And this is something that I teach to a lot of my students. So if you're interested in becoming a student of mine, you can go to the link in the description below as well as the pinned comment, which will take you to my booking tab on my website. And there I have all of my calendar dates that you can book lessons with me. I teach weekly one-on-one lessons to people that want to study with me long-term and become a better musician and a better guitar player, but I also even have a one-on-one 90-minute masterclass that I'm now offering for people that maybe don't want to do every week lesson, but they do want to get a lot of information all at once and kind of take it and run with it, whether they want to meet once a month or maybe they just want a kind of a one-off situation. I try to give everybody a fantastic one-on-one experience, an hour and a half, where we assess your playing, structure your goals, and even come up with a blueprint plan to get you there within a 90-minute time frame. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want to become a student with me, whether it be long-term or short-term, I have all of that information below. You may have seen a video of Yngwie from one of his instructional videos talking about playing different inversions. He called these inversions different modes. I believe he was playing A minor in the video, and he says, here's A minor in 5 different modes. What he meant to say was 5 different inversions. Now, of course, we're talking about the same thing, just a difference of terminology there. The correct terminology is inversions, but it's neither here nor there. He got the point across in the video of what he actually was doing. But we're going to start with that in today's video, and I'm going to give you examples on what to practice and how to do these things and what you really want to understand about your fretboard. Yngwie is the kind of player that never got boxed in with the scales. You'll never see him play scales vertical or in any kind of box shapes. He has always spread them out horizontally across the fretboard, which really has freed him up significantly. I mean, honestly, I feel like most guitar players learn how to play in box shapes, and Yngwie really just kind of put guitar on easy mode in a sense by making all of his scales go across the fretboard and in 3-note and 4-note patterns, actually, and combining the two together. He did the exact same thing with arpeggios. So today we're going to start with E minor. Okay, I'm actually tuned to E flat, but let's talk about what is an inversion and how to recognize these across the fretboard. Now, of course, when we're talking about sweep picking, in the 3-note patterns, the most common one that Yngwie uses is the ones on the highest 3 strings, the G, B, and the E string. And when playing this, you want to just recognize first where your triad shapes are. So if you have E minor, this is 1, 3, 5, meaning the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. Then we move that pattern up to 3, 5, 1, flipping it on itself, and it becomes... And then, of course, we have the last one flipping it on itself one more time, becoming 5, 1, 3. So if you're playing E, G, B, then G, B, E, and then B, G, E. Okay? Now, of course, when we want to arpeggiate this, catering to the instrument itself, it's very nice to add the next root note to that. Okay? So when Yngwie plays these, he'll literally just play them usually ascending the neck. He doesn't really do a lot of them descending unless he's doing 2-note arpeggios, which we'll talk about later in the video. But a lot of the time you might hear him do something like this. If you wanted to do it across the entire fretboard all in E minor, you could actually just start with the open strings and starting really in the 3-5-1 shape here. Palm muting helps with these kinds of patterns that require barring and the pinky movement. But basically, I like to kind of map these out where I go. And adding kind of the slides in there gives you this violin kind of tone to it, which is really what Yngwie's tone is kind of mimicking when you hear him on the records. Something really important to talk about with the picking on this is that Yngwie uses a downward pick slant exclusively. He almost never flips his pick angle. So you're not going to find him doing that on these 3-note patterns. Really what he's doing is he'll start on a downstroke, if he's doing per se this one here. Well, really for all of them, but we'll use this first pattern. What he's doing is a downstroke, pull off, and then up, and then down. So in a sense, he kind of is right about his own playing from his interviews. That is kind of an alternate pick. Kind of. Because you have the down with the pull off, of course, but then up and then down. But then you're going to sweep it back. You're just going to go sweep, which is a rest stroke into the next string, and then down. So it's just down, 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 up, and repeat. So practicing that can be tricky. I honestly think for students, this is probably one of the hardest sweeps to learn. It's actually harder than the ones that are 5 strings, in my opinion, because of the turnaround that you have to do. You'll hear a lot of these 3-note sweeping patterns on songs like Black Star, Far Beyond the Sun. Sometimes he does all 3 of his kind of sweep stuff in one song, but for the most part, the early Yngwie records have a lot of these 3-string sweeps on them that are all just triad inversions, basically getting flipped on each other multiple times. So really good if you can practice this. It'll help you not only map your fretboard, but also get way better at sweep picking in general. Something that's super important also to note with Yngwie's downward pick slant is that he keeps this open wrist position here. Okay, you'll never see him glue his wrist to the guitar. That's really something you don't want to do in general as a guitar player, because you do need this freedom of motion here with this wrist muscle and your forearm. And Yngwie does it really well because he leaves his wrist super open and allows for basically this muscle to go from pronation to slight supination, which is the motion that you need to not only do all of his other types of picking, but also the sweep picking. Something also that I feel is important to mention when doing these sweeps is that, you know, having the scalloped fretboard is actually very helpful in my opinion, because it makes it so that you only have to just touch the fretboard. You don't have to press super hard. And I think when it comes to sweep picking, an issue that I see with a lot of students is that they will start pressing really hard and not being relaxed. And on top of that, they'll be picking really hard, which makes it hard for the pick to glide through the strings. And one of the most important things when playing in Yngwie's style, or really just kind of any, you know, fast playing really, is to be as gentle and relaxed as possible while you're playing. You do not want to pick hard into the strings. I mean, really, you should just barely tap the strings at all. And that goes for all the picking, not just the sweep picking, but it really helps with the sweeps if you just barely glide the pick through the strings and then kind of barely tap the strings with your fingers. This will make it not only easier to play, but also it'll sound smoother. You know, it's not really a smooth sound when you got this really, you know, digging in string type of sound. You just want to be very, very gentle. The very edge of the pick is really all that's necessary when it comes to this picking. Something that I also mentioned in my other Yngwie video, which you can watch here, is that you really want to drop your shoulders as you play, because the shoulders hold a lot of tension, and it can put tension in your hands if you play hunched up like this. So it's really important to kind of try to really think about being relaxed while you play and dropping those shoulders down and just allowing your entire body to feel relaxation as you play the guitar. It'll actually make playing feel good as well. Also, of course, making it easier to play these things, but it also feel good to play. So the next sweep we'll talk about with Yngwie is the 5-string sweep. Now, many of you are probably familiar with this A minor pattern right here. But Yngwie doesn't play it like that. Yngwie actually puts the minor third, which in this case would be C, right here on the D string. And this will kind of take us into the 2-string sweeps that I'll talk about in a little bit, which are arguably his hardest sweeps to do. But really, he'll take this and do, the rest stroke here with the sweep. It'll go down, and then down again, and then an upstroke. And he's actually stretching it. Usually he'll use his ring finger for this. And he'll actually kind of alternate pick that one too. So it's funny, but in a sense, sometimes he's actually right about his playing. He's like, I don't sweep pick, I alternate pick. He is still sweeping, but there's like little hints of alternate picking along the way, because he doesn't do a sweep where we do this legato thing. He'll just actually pick all the notes, where it's down, down, up, and then he's going to still pick all the notes through sweeping, where he'll take the rest of the arpeggio and just do downstrokes through it. Like that. And then we basically have the same extended pattern now, where this becomes down, 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 up, and then of course you go backwards. So ascending, you'll have down, down, up, down, 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 up. And then you kind of can almost visualize the guitar where you're breaking up the sweeps into 3 strings now in a way. But really the most important thing is the counting of this. Even though Yngwie's stuff may sound like a lot of notes, you really do want to count the subdivision of this, Counting it, most of the sweeps are going to be triplets, so counting triplet, 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 triplet to a metronome is really going to help you. Now, of course, when these are sped up, they technically become sextuplets, but counting sextuplets is not as easy as just counting a straightforward triplet. And you don't want to say the word triplet, you want to say triplet. So you count for those 3 notes that are getting subdivided into one beat. Some people find it helpful to say banana. They might say banana, 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 banana. You just want to make sure that you're actually accounting for the downbeat and the other notes in between as you sweep through the triplets. If you can't subdivide the triplets, while you're sweeping, it's going to feel very difficult for you to actually do the full sweep. But basically, if I counted it to show you, it'll sound like this. Triplet, 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 trip. Triplet, 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 trip. Okay, so on your way back down, I've seen this a couple different ways with Yngwie. I have seen him actually pick all the notes backwards on some of these sweeps, which is pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie. This is maybe one thing I differ with him on. I've seen it both ways, but where he will just glide back on the back side of the pick, keeping the pick slant. See, here you don't have to change the pick slant. You can still do it this way. But I've also seen where he has alternate picked the backwards arpeggio. So this is, one of the arpeggios where, in a sense, he's kind of right again, where he's like, I alternate pick, because I have seen it because of the pick slant that he uses, where he will alternate pick, but it would still make sense for him to do a pull off here, because he usually tries to do a pure alternate pick, so he's not going to economy pick by accident, where he'll go upstroke, pull off, up, down, up, and then he'll restart it. Now, sometimes even on the record, you'll hear Yngwie have like a little slight delay with that note, because it is, kind of out of the way on the fretboard the way he's playing it, versus if you can kind of play these arpeggios faster if you just do the hammer on and keep it on the A string. But I do find this move here on the fretboard to actually be a lot more economic on the fretboard if you do it for major shapes instead of minor shapes. But I still won't pick, all the notes like Yngwie does. This is one of the few sweeps where I kind of differ from him a little bit. I still find it easier to actually tilt the pick backwards and just sweep through it and then kind of flip the angle of it. But it is possible to not do it, because obviously Yngwie will choose to kind of hybrid alternate pick it and kind of go in between, sometimes picking all of the notes as well. The last type of sweep that Yngwie does most commonly is a 2-string sweep. You've probably heard him do this. You probably heard that on Black Star and a bunch of other ones. This diminished passage right here, where he does the 2 strings, where he goes... I mean, you could really go as far as you want with that. You could also go back up with it, too. You also hear him do a similar one in Trilogy Sweep, and I'll kind of talk about the variations that he does. But basically, again, he's mapping out the fretboard horizontally rather than vertically. I've seen people try to play it like this. But that's not very economic for actually playing it fast. It's just so much easier, and it kind of sounds smoother because of these slides. He'll take those notes and kind of repeat them and then slide through them to make it, again, kind of have that violin type of sound. And all it is just 2 downstrokes, and you are sweeping through it. You go down, and then here's the sweep where you go down, rest stroke, down again, but then you land back on this note. So instead of doing this, you don't want to slide with this finger when you're going backwards. You want to slide with the ring finger. Then you'll still get to that note, but now you can pull off to that note and continue the sweep again. So I kind of like to keep my fingers on the strings for this, so I'm not going back and forth. So I kind of keep my pointer finger sort of glued to the fretboard here as I play it backwards. That way you got no misses when it comes to the pull-offs. And he'll also do this with just playing 3 notes on a diminished sweep. You'll also see him do this on the Trilogy Sweep, but this one's a little bit different than the diminished passage, where it's kind of all sliding and a little bit more legato with the sweeping. This one, he's actually still picking all the notes, more similar to the 3-string pattern. If you're on Trilogy Sweep, where he's doing... But instead you'll play it like this, where you go down, down, up, pull off. and then you're sweeping that, again, still in the triplet form. That's one of the great things about Yngwie, is his sense of subdivision really has no boundaries when it comes to his string choices, because a lot of people think, oh, 3 notes on a string, triplets, 4 notes on a string, sixteenths. With Yngwie, it doesn't really matter the string grouping. He is just thinking about the subdivision in his mind. So if it's a triplet, even if it's 2 strings, he can still count the triplet on those strings without it really affecting his sense of playing those strings. So on this sweep right here, you have down, down, up, and then you repeat it. So it goes triplet, 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 down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, down, up. So here's the sweep, down, rest stroke, down, and then your upstroke. And on these upstrokes, you still want to use your forearm just like all the other sweeps. Even though it's only 2 strings, a lot of people think, oh, I can just do it with my wrist. You definitely still want to use the arm for this, even if it's a very subtle movement where you're going to go down, down, up. Let the upstroke kind of pull your arm back at the same time so you can reset it and continue the sweep. It'll almost become kind of like a circle. And honestly, palm muting these definitely helps. I mean, he pretty much palm mutes all these kinds of sweeps because otherwise there'd be a lot of string noise with them. And that's how you get the sound of the arpeggio on the 2 strings. So there you have it, everybody. That is all of the type of sweep picking that Yngwie Malmsteen does, or at least those are the main types of sweeps that he does. There's so many things I could talk about in a video, but these are really kind of the main focal points of Yngwie's sweep picking and how he does it. So I hope this helped you today. Please share this video and like it if it did help you, and leave a comment below on if this helped you today. And if you want to study with me one-on-one and become one of my students, you can go to the link in the description below, as well as the pinned comment, and you can book lessons with me there under my booking tab. It'll take you to my calendar. You can see all the dates that I have available, and you can book your lessons on whatever dates you see fit that is on that calendar. And then, of course, from there, I will be in touch with you and give you the lesson details on how we will meet. You can also email me, of course, if you want to know more details about lessons before you start. And of course, if it's a good fit, I'd love to work with you. One last thing I want to mention to all of you in this video is that if you yourself have ever been curious about playing a scalloped fretboard guitar, but maybe have never had the opportunity, maybe you don't want to spend a lot of money on an Yngwie Strat, I have this guitar right here that I am selling on Reverb. This is a parts caster. It is a Squire body with an all-parts neck that has been fully scalloped, as well as flamed maple. And I have my tuner here on the headstock, of course. It has Fender vintage tuners. It also has a Fender vintage bridge. It has had a completely redone wiring harness, all new pots, all new knobs, all new switches, and Seymour Duncan hot rails pickups. So if this is something that you're interested in and you want to own this guitar, I have the Reverb listing also in the link in the description below. And of course, if you have any questions about this guitar, you can also feel free to email me about it as well. So with that being said, I appreciate all of you for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.